And in the news center this afternoon is NewsNation political contributor Denise Gitsham and SiriusXM host Reecie Colbert. And we want to start with Reecie here to talk about, what has really been termed as concern from some of what we heard from the president's focus on the 2020 election, and if it's actually about the midterms. The ranking Democrat on the House Select Committee on Intelligence, Jim Hines, is saying that, quote, Trump's election denial has never been more dangerous. So is it dangerous?
Well, absolutely. I believe that it's dangerous because, number one, it wants to sow confusion. It wants to undermine integrity or belief that the elections have integrity, which, by the way, is dangerous for both parties. But I think that the ultimate goal is to get people disillusioned and disenfranchised to where they don't even want to bother to cast a vote and to make it more difficult for people to vote. But can I just point out that what Donald Trump is proposing is not free? He is proposing $10 billion to enforce voting restrictions that there's no evidence that we need. There's no evidence that voter tallies have been changed, that voter fraud has actually occurred, and yet $10 billion of taxpayer monies are not going to lowering costs, not going to addressing the affordability crisis. It's going to voter restrictions on top of $70 billion more they're trying to get for this war, on top of $70 billion for immigration enforcement. Where is the investment in the American people and making life more affordable and healthcare more affordable for Americans?
Well, Denise, I want to give you a chance to jump in on that. I mean, what do you make of this part of the conversation?
Well, I don't disagree with Reecie. Again, I think that the economy is the number one issue, and every second the president uses any of his camera time to talk about anything but, he loses. I mean, the economy, if you just look at what happened in the last 3 weeks when the price of gas came down, Donald Trump's approval ratings went up correspondingly. I mean, this is such an obvious correlation between the economy and approval ratings of whoever's in charge. And so, I personally believe that $10 billion there's really no limit to the amount of money that I would spend to ensure that we can all have faith in our elections. I think that when Democrats use sort of Russian interference, I mean, Hillary Clinton did say that he was an illegitimate president. Stacey Abrams refused to concede because she didn't believe that her gubernatorial race was fair in 2018. And so it's not just one side or the other. It seems like both parties are playing that card when it benefits them. And I think that is what's undermining confidence in voters and elections.
Look, everybody just wants this to be a fair election and wants everything to be on the table. There's no doubt about that. But we've got more Republicans now that say they are worrying that the Iran war and the president's 2020 election focus will actually backfire. Let's take a listen to what Republican Senator Tom Tillis said on the Senate floor.
Mr. President, the fact is, we're not going to have 10,000 people doing things radically by Election Day. What we're going to do, if we continue down this path, is to convince the American people that you can't count on your election results. And that is dangerous. That is irresponsible. Don't further undermine the confidence of the American people by saying, my goodness, they can't get this implemented. The election must be invalid.
All right, Denise, I'll start with you. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm not surprised it's coming from Senator Tillis, who is an avowed enemy of the president. There's a personal axe to grind there, which doesn't mean that he doesn't make a point, but it really does go back to the fact that I think that if 83%, I've seen two polls actually, one that says 66% and one that says 83% of Americans would like to have clarification in terms of voter proof of ID, citizenship, in order to register and actually vote. And so I don't think that we can ever spend too many of our resources or too much time or offer too much transparency and confirmation that everyone who actually casts a vote should cast a vote. I just think that that's basic, that's fundamental. And again, over 170 democratic countries actually already institute voter ID.
All right, Reecie, listen, we've got Democrats, too, that are out fundraising their Republican opponents in the country's most critical Senate races. We've been taking a look at that. I want to get you to weigh in. This is happening in Georgia and in Texas. Is this a hint that Democratic voters are more excited than Republicans as you see it?
Well, I do think that there are a lot of Democrats that understand the urgency of the midterms the same way that Republicans do. But I think that Democrats want to go out there and pound the pavement and get people energized and activate it so that they can win the elections fair and square. And so we have very critical races. There are races that people are optimistic about flipping, but then we have very crucial races that we need to hold on to, like Georgia, which is always competitive.
Right. Okay, it's Friday. And lastly, I want to get your thoughts on this. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon says he may enter the presidential race. Not sure if you've heard it. Let's listen to this.
People keep asking me if I'm running for president, and I don't know. I might. I'm serious. I don't know. I might, because people keep asking me to do it, and or if I'm going to do it. And I look around, and I see the folks who are, possibly in the running, and some of them are impressive. Many of them, most of them are not. And it seems in this day and age, you don't have to have a ton of political experience, because our current president has none, had none.
Okay, Reecie, I'll start with you. What did you make of Lemon's comments, and do you think he has a chance?
Well, I count Don Lemon as a personal friend of mine. I think he was being provocative. I don't believe that he has any intent of seriously mounting a presidential campaign, but I'm not in the business of making predictions for 2028 anymore, because it is a long way out.
It is. Denise, what do you think? I mean, he did kind of sound serious there, though, right?
I mean, as serious as you can be, sitting by a pool with your legs crossed, looking very dapper. Listen, I don't think he wants to ruin that gorgeous head of hair and make it go all gray. He looks awesome. He looks young. Let's keep it that way, Don. You got a face. You have a face for TV. Let's keep it. I mean, and also, listen, as impressive, determining whether there's an impressive list of Democrats running. We've got Gavin Newsom, who, listen, I dislike him as much as anyone else as a Californian, but he is a darn good politician. And so saying that people like Gavin and Kamala and Gretchen Whitmer and Josh Shapiro and Wes Moore and Andy Beshear are not good candidates, I mean, I don't think anyone would agree with that. So you're probably right, Reecie. He's probably being provocative.
All right. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Like you said, Reecie, we've got a long road ahead of us, and we'll watch it play out together. Denise Gitsham and Reecie Colbert, thank you very much for being here, as always.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. And I will have more on this over the weekend here on News Nation, starting at 9 a.m. We've got News Nation Live, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. We start things off again at 9 a.m. I'll see you this weekend.